PNGDF prepped to tighten security in major operations. Fair representation in Parliament, a growing concern. A national court orders PANGU Pati to decide on leader.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining me for Friday's news. The Department of Education today launched 2 education policies in order to improve standards in the country. Apart from the policies, an application software for school inspectors to use when inspecting schools. Over 200 school inspectors nationwide are currently in Port Moresby attending a week-long workshop.
The National Quality School Standards Framework and National Approach to School Standards Assessment Policies and the software NASA was officially launched by Minister for Education Nick Kuman.
National Quality School Standard Framework and the National Schools Review Standards officially launched. Thank you.
In attendance were over 200 school inspectors from around the country who are in Port Moresby for a week-long workshop on the policy and the software.
We can say one standard would be, say, how many students would be in one classroom. So the minimum standards, that's the other policy that was launched, will set out the minimum standards that a teacher should have, a school should have, and the school, the teacher and the student. So there are 3 different sets of standards that we have. So like for a student, he must come to school every day.
The Education Department aims to improve quality of education, and such policies, when implemented, will raise standards, while the software will enable school inspectors to effectively send advisory reports back to the department from anywhere in PNG.
We'll actually be able to standardize all the reports that we do in the country. So I, myself, or the AS for inspections, will be able to see the whole country's report on our tablets.
Meanwhile, Leonard Wanusim, the software engineer for NASA, had this to say about the product.
Put the information on the mobile and then just click post, and it goes through 4 workflow processes. It goes to the inspector. The inspector has to log in and say he can reject it or accept it. If he accepts it, it goes to the provincial education inspector, and it goes through 4 different levels before it reaches the headquarters.
These changes comes as the Education Department looks to restructure the education system in the country.
And some provinces have indicated they want to start next year. Others have said that they want to start in another 2 years' time. So implementation across the whole country will not happen all at the same time, but it will be implemented, and it's a government policy. So in that process, we will phase out all the elementary schools and leave only the prep there as a preschool, but grade 1 up to 6 will be in the primary schools.
Adelaide Kari, National MTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Defence Force is prepared to tighten security with major operations in the country. Chief of Joint Operations Colonel Ezekiel Wenzel says every resource will be used with the help of partners like Australia and New Zealand, among others. Colonel Wenzel says more and more forces from APEC countries will be visiting PNG shores before November.
Speaking this morning at Joint Operation Headquarters, Colonel Wenzel gave a commanding assurance that PNG Defence Force is well prepared to assist police in joint operations throughout the country. All this is for preparations for the 2018 APEC Summit in Port Moresby. He says all resources will be utilized for the safety and security of all.
Let there be no doubt that the Papua New Guinea Defence Force is truly ready, and we are capable of supporting the police and other line security agencies in supporting the overall security effort to deliver the APEC Leaders Summit in Papua New Guinea. We are ready.
A number of joint operations have been successful since 2016. PNG Defence Force personnel have gone through technical training with their counterparts from Australia and New Zealand. The head of joint operations says more countries are expected, with Japan being the most recent to confirm.
In the next few weeks, 2 months, you will see the presence of foreign military forces here, and that is collaboration between the Papua New Guinea Defence Force and other militaries is not a new thing. It's not a new thing. Other defence cooperation arrangements with other countries, they've always been here.
Colonel Wenzel also admitted the incapability of the PNG Defence Force, but says the joint operation is where much of the experience and resource will be from APEC member countries.
They're coming in with those high-end capabilities. High-end capabilities are those capabilities that we do not, the Papua New Guinea Defence Force does not have. For example, ship surveillance platforms, aircrafts. These are the things that they are coming in to fill in the gap, the security gap that we have.
Not only Port Moresby will be targeted for joint operations, patrols and checks will be maintained at all border posts. The Highlands region will also be patrolled by joint forces. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
Meanwhile, a Japanese maritime self-defense vessel docked at Fairfax Harbour yesterday. The ship is on a goodwill visit to Port Moresby before heading to Solomon Islands. Japanese ambassador to PNG, Satoshi Nakajima, said the visit promotes bilateral relations between PNG and Japan.
During the ship stay, students will be invited on board the ship for a tour. The ship's crews and officers will also pay homage to the war dead at the Remembrance Memorial Park and at Ella Beach. They will also visit several places in Port Moresby to see firsthand PNG's economic and social achievements since independence, and also to witness PNG's preparation towards the APEC summit in November. The ambassador, when speaking at the reception yesterday, hopes that this port call by the ship will ensure long-lasting confidence and trust in the relationship between Japan and the government of PNG.
This port call by Sazanami will make long-lasting ripples of confidence, trust and friendship between Japan and Papua New Guinea and all other countries she has and we have engaged with during this tour voyage. Last but not least, I would like to conclude my remarks by expressing my best wishes for a successful APEC and further prosperous Papua New Guinea.
Governor General Sebob Dadae, who was there to witness the reception, commended the Japanese government for the mutual relationship the two countries have enjoyed since independence. He thanked the Japanese government for all the help that they have given to PNG and welcomed the vessel to the shores of PNG. The vessel named Sazanami played an important part in the effort to strengthen effective maritime safety across the Indo-Pacific region. The ship departs PNG on Saturday for Onyera in the Solomon Islands before heading back to Japan. Rayon Lakingu, National MTV News.
The United Kingdom government has announced 3 million kina funding for the development of the Commonwealth Standards Network. The CSN project will promote the use and awareness of international standards and improve technical and institutional capacity. Trade, Commerce and Industry Minister Wera Mori launched the project yesterday.
Through the project, the UK government will be providing technical assistance to the National Institute of Standards and Industrial Technology to improve standards in the country. Minister Mori said a CSN will enhance the standard practices in the country to meet the demand of standards at the global level. He said such arrangements were crucial at a time when the demand for standards is at its highest.
A lot of demand for standards. In PNG now, we're talking about getting our products to meet Australian and New Zealand standards so that we can be able to export to them, and etc. Quality control measures are also of the highest esteem.
The project aims to develop trade between Commonwealth countries. Minister Mori said the quality of products in the country continues to be a concern due to weak border security. He said this has resulted in a global perception that general standards in PNG were low. Minister Mori said with the CSN, standard protocols would be enhanced and the issue of substandard products coming into the country would be addressed.
Manufacturing, importation of goods, for consumers to be sold on the shelves and etc., they must be of quality. We just can't drag anything in here because Papua New Guinea is not a dumping place.
As the minister responsible for NICIT, Minister Mori said the organization plays a major role in facilitating trade and has called on the government to support NICIT in achieving its reforms and development priorities. Charlene Airy, National MTV News.
The Australian government is pleased to see the completion of the 7 kilometres of Bougainville's trunk road. Australian High Commission Councillor Andrew Egan inspected the project recently. One key area the road will serve is Bougainville's cocoa industry. The improved road link will see more rural cocoa farmers access markets to sell their produce. The 7 million kina national highway in Tinputs has been delivered as part of the PNG Australia partnership. The project also provided employment and training to 45 local residents through the Papua New Guinea Australia Transport Sector Support Program. In the news ahead, teachers received certificates in IT upskilling, and Moses Pita, the young man who lost his life saving 2 women, laid to rest. Those stories and more when we come back. Welcome back. Over 30 individuals, comprising mostly of teachers, received certificates today after completing an information technology course. The teachers were from secondary schools within the National Capital District and the Central Province. The 3-day course was funded by Daytech Learning Centres.
We are at a time of development where everything revolves around the digital age. The government, its stakeholders and NGOs are taking measures to adapt to fast-changing technology. One such organization is Daytech Learning Centre. Through research, Daytech Managing Director Ravi Chandran saw the need of IT development in schools.
I got an opportunity to meet a lot of schools. I went to schools and visited a lot of computer labs. Then I found there is a lot of gaps for delivering the IT skills to the students. Then I decided, okay, we'll do something good for the community.
Among teachers who received certificates today was Mr. Taniwe. He said the course had broadened his understanding of information technology and thanked Daytech for the initiative.
And I think even though we are teachers, but we also lack a lot of skills. I can see that we lack a lot of skills. So this is a very important step that we have come.
Guest speaker at the event, NCD Governor Powes Pakop, said IT was an important part of development and introducing it at all levels was vital.
My goal is, and I'm not sure it's a very achievable goal or it's going to really work out, but I have to try and partner with young people is to make Port Moresby becoming a hub for blockchain technology. Because all over the world, they've secured, and partner different type of technological advancement.
Charlene Airy, National MTV News.
Papua New Guinea's population is growing and the issue of fair representation in Parliament is a big concern. The seminar on the review of the organic law on national and local level government elections in Port Moresby has revealed the setbacks facing the Boundaries Commission and the Parliament on reviewing new chances of new provincial electorates. Fidelis Sukina reports.
The Boundaries Commission is responsible under the Organic Law on national and local level government elections to review and consider new provincial electorates in consultation with the National Parliament. But all boundary reviews have been rejected by Parliament since 1981, and that could be a breach of Section 125 of the Constitution. This section states the number of open electorates and of provincial electorates and their boundaries shall be determined by the Parliament in accordance with recommendations from a Boundaries Commission from time to time at intervals determined by or under an organic law, being intervals of not more than 10 years.
No reviews of the provincial electorates have happened since 1977. This could be seen as a breach of the provisions of the Constitution.
The current boundaries were set in 1977, and there is a huge concern by the people to have more provincial electorates. However, according to the organic law, there is a ceiling of 120 open electorates, which currently only 89 electorates represented in Parliament. This leaves a chance for 89 open electorates still available according to law. But the major setback to the review of provincial electorates is that there is no specific laws dictating the procedures to do so.
In the organic law, starting from section 34 onwards to about 43 or so, it only talks about procedures on how to review open electorates.
But there are only certain provisions that allow for reviews.
Now, the Electoral Boundaries Commission can also make recommendations on the provincial electorates to cater for any required changes, but this must be part of a redistribution review. And you will recall when HELA was created and Jiwaka was created, this was the process that Parliament and the Electoral Boundaries Commission had to go through.
Fidelis Sukina, National MTV News.
The National Court has ruled for members of the PANGU parliamentary wing and its executive to meet and elect a party leader. After months of in-house grievances between its members, both sides will meet on October 1st to elect a leader. Representing the party, Koilala MP William Sam confirmed that both sides will adhere to the court ruling. Meanwhile, MP Sam says the party is intact and will stand firm to support the leadership of the O'Neill-Abel government.
We accept the court decision, which we in our capacity as members of parliament and also members of PANGU Pati, we will endeavor to ensure that the decisions and the orders stated here are complied to. And issues of vote of no confidence and any other monkey business is not the discussion on any PANGU meeting at the moment. We remain intact to see the fulfillment of this government's term.
The best of Bougainville cocoa is on show this weekend at the 2018 Bougainville Chocolate Festival. The festival got underway this morning with ABG President Chief John Momes addressing the event. For this part of PNG that is known for its high-quality cocoa, the Chocolate Festival is an important avenue for participants in the different processes of cocoa to come together to share ideas on how to improve production, as well as connect with potential cocoa buyers and chocolate producers both in country and overseas. Given the distinct flavor of Bougainville cocoa, international cocoa buyers and chocolate producers are now using Bougainville beans for high-quality chocolate in Australia, New Zealand, the UK and Europe. Some of these representatives present at the two-day event. Also present were representatives from the Australian and New Zealand governments who, through various programs, have supported the production and marketing of Bougainville cocoa. The Bougainville Chocolate Festival ends tomorrow. And you with National MTV News will bring you stories making headlines overseas. Next, stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, the world now has a much-needed rubbish collection service in space. A garbage net shot out of the space station catches the junk and drags it into a new orbit that immediately burns it up.
200 miles above the Earth, a net fired from a satellite is aimed at a potentially lethal piece of space junk. The debris, which was spinning out of control, is enveloped like a fly in a cobweb and will no longer pose a threat. The successful experiment watched with delight and no small amount of relief at the Space Centre at Surrey University, which developed the groundbreaking technology. And it's done it.
Yes.
It's got it.
Yes, so the debris was spinning and the net went and captured it.
A huge relief because you only got one shot at that.
Indeed, indeed. And so everything went really well, so we are delighted.
Space junk is an ever-increasing hazard. There are 500,000 known objects circling the planet, ranging from dead satellites to smaller pieces of metal.
Some of the old satellites have collided, some have exploded, fragmented. So now there is this issue that you start to risk that a new satellite is going to be hit by one of these pieces of debris.
Even the International Space Station could be at risk. It was from the space station that the cube-shaped satellite with the functional name Remove Debris was launched in June. The project, part funded by the European Community, will attempt to use nets and a harpoon to snag threatening objects and has potential targets in mind.
It's a very large satellite, a few tons of weight, the size of a bus. So that would be, for example, a potential target for a mission like this.
Once captured, the junk will drop and burn up. A mission conceived in Surrey, making space a safer place.
Now, it's been smashed, routinely targeted with defecations. There was a tiny border wall placed around it, and now prison bars have been placed around Donald Trump's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Stars are supposed to twinkle, but me, I spark. When some guy takes a pickaxe to me because he's mad at my namesake, Donald Trump. This star was born in 2007. Since then, I've been pulverized at least twice. A comedian named George Lopez pretended to relieve himself on me. And now the latest indignity, a street artist who calls himself Plastic Jesus put bars over me. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder, who would do this to me? And why would you put bars on me?
Well, because you're going to jail.
Says the street artist Plastic Jesus, who wanted to remain incognito. When he placed the wooden bars in broad daylight using industrial double-sided sticky tape, a Trump supporter tried to rip them off.
Dude, leave it. What do you mean, dude, leave it? It's a piece of street art, okay? That's my president, bro.
2 years ago, the same street artist, mad about Trump's border wall, surrounded me with a wall, complete with razor wire.
Is that yours? Yeah, leave it. Yeah, leave it.
At least Plastic Jesus doesn't believe in torture.
I try and do my pieces in a way which doesn't vandalise the Walk of Fame too much.
It costs over $2,500 to repair me every time someone obliterates me.
Oh, sorry.
Someone once came along and put a pizza box over me. Then he deployed spray paint using some kind of stencil. What self-respecting star wants to be defaced with a mute symbol?
That's hilarious.
Hilarious? Why don't you mute yourself? This isn't the Walk of Fame. It's the Walk of Pain. Ouch.
The World Anti-Doping Agency has lifted Russia's 3-year suspension that was imposed after accusations of state-sponsored drugs cheating in sport. Russia will now be able to test their own athletes and potential return to international competition. But the move has prompted widespread anger.
It's been a country in sporting exile. Russian athletes forced to compete as neutrals at events like the Winter Olympics, punishment for a doping scandal like no other. But today, here in the Seychelles, Wada defied an outcry from athletes and lifted a 3-year-long suspension.
We are in a stronger position and we move forward. And I sincerely hope and I fully expect the Russian authorities to fulfill their obligations.
Exposed by cheating mastermind turned whistleblower Dr. Grigory Rodchenkov, the former head of Moscow's anti-doping lab, Russia was accused of a state-sponsored conspiracy that benefited 1,000 athletes and sabotaged events like London 2012. WADA says Russia must hand over data from its Moscow lab by the end of the year or it'll be suspended again. But after this letter obtained by the BBC showed how WADA offered a secret compromise deal to Russia over key reinstatement criteria, WADA's decision today has been condemned by athletes.
Everyone wants to watch genuine performances, and I can't help but think that this measure today is a step backwards in that fight towards making sport cleaner. WADA are there to protect clean sport. They're not there to protect the people that they have sanctioned.
WADA's deal has also dismayed many in the anti-doping community. Russia won't admit the scandal went right to the top of the state, but insists it can now be trusted.
This is the first step, the important one. It opens the way to our sportsmen and our federations to enter competitions. Moreover, it opens an opportunity to bid for sporting events to come to Russia.
Today raises the prospect of Russia's readmission to the international sporting community, the fear that it's also done lasting damage to Wada's credibility.
And back home now, the 35-year-old man who was beaten to death by a group of men at Lay's top town 2 weeks ago was laid to rest this afternoon at Butibam Cemetery in Lay. Moses Pita, also known as Moses Wallo, was killed after trying to stop a man from harassing two women at 8th Street. Moses is a father of two and was employed with the Black Swan Security in Lay before his passing.
In an emotional gathering this afternoon, families, relatives, friends and colleagues of late Moses Pita came to pay their last respect during his funeral service today at Butibam village in Lay. Late Moses was the only breadwinner for his immediate and extended family. Today, he was remembered by his boss as someone who is always willing to give a helping hand.
Always willing to help. Always wanted to help others. Always wanted to protect people.
On Saturday morning, the 8th of September, late Moses was attacked by a group of men at 8th Street when he intervened to stop a man from harassing two women. He passed on that afternoon. In retaliation, youths from Butibam burned down houses at the Banana Block along the Kasri Road in Lay. The high leaders from the 6 IE villages, including Butibam, submitted their petition to the Northern Division Police Commander, Pita Guineas, following the murder of the young man. Late Moses is from Makam and Butibam and is the third from a family of 4. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. His family and community want justice for his death. To many, he will be remembered as a hero. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Lay.
You're at National MTV News. Chukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Starting overseas, the 2019 Rugby World Cup will kick off a year from today, and the All Blacks remain firm favourites to retain the Webb Ellis Cup, according to the man who masterminded the team's triumph in 2011. Sir Graham Henry says despite the All Blacks stumbling against South Africa in Wellington, there's simply too much experience in the team not to make it 3 in a row.
Fast forward 12 months and the All Blacks will be here at Yokohama Stadium opening their World Cup campaign against South Africa. A challenge taken on extra significance following their last outing in Wellington. It's a wake-up call former coach Sir Graham Henry thinks they needed.
Gets everybody on their toes, gets them all refocused. And it's all very well talking about it and talking a good game, but you know, unless you go through those experiences, I don't think you really get to 100.
The loss to the Box, a timely reminder the All Blacks are beatable, a feeling Steve Hanson's side aren't used to.
There'll be a lot of learning for us, and this team hasn't had much adversity. Well, last night will be a massive opportunity for this team to grow if we take the learnings.
Henry is confident there'll be no complacency from a side with an 85% win rate this World Cup cycle.
They're doing their homework, and they're hugely experienced, the most experienced rugby team in the world, both in the players and in the management. So things are looking very positive, I think.
But experience can only get you so far. Henry warning there'll be no shortage of competition for the All Blacks at next year's tournament.
The Irish, I think, are going to be pretty special. You know, they're Six Nations champions. If England might come back again, who knows? So, you know, there'll be some competition there.
Next month, the All Blacks will take on Australia and Japan in 2 of the stadiums they'll use in the World Cup, providing Steve Hanson's men with the perfect dress rehearsal for their attempt at a three-peat.
And in the NRL, the Cronulla Sharks have been dealt a massive blow ahead of tonight's match against Melbourne Storm. Skipper Paul Gallen has been ruled out of the sudden death encounter.
Not known for his sidestepping, Gallen was showcasing his best when approached by media at the airport, leaving his coach to confirm that he'd failed to recover from a shoulder injury.
The Penrith Panthers best in the league in both departments.
He's our forward leader, so to be without him it's a massive loss. But someone's going to come in, and as you've seen previously, someone will stand up and do the job.
That means fellow 300-game veteran Luke Lewis will captain the side in what would be his final NRL match.
When I told him he was captain, he was really chuffed about it and looking forward to it, and you're really excited about it.
Could be his final NRL match. Despite the Melbourne Storm being heavy favourites, the Sharks do have the wood over them, beating them twice during the season's round robin.
To golf now, just making the top 30 season in the PGA Tour Championship was an achievement for Tiger Woods, but he was never going to be content just participating. Instead, the former world #1, who hasn't won an event on tour in 5 years, has joined the ladder after the first round in Atlanta.
The Tiger Woods of old used to thrive on the big occasions, holding eagle putts like this in his sleep. If you're still one of those doubting his comeback, this is for you.
Oh, this looks good. There's the co-leader.
An eagle on the par 5 18th, putting Woods on top of the leaderboard at the Tour Championship, the second consecutive tournament where he's led after the first round. While he started with the bogey, it was his only blip of the day. The former world #1 working his way around Eastlake Golf Club with ease.
Dialed in, beautiful. Yeah.
Woods' progression from outside the world's best 1,000 to playing at the season-ending top 30 event is already impressive. But with every tournament, a win looks more likely.
That's pretty good. That's more than pretty good.
Everything's like evolved. It's I feel completely different than I did at the beginning of the year. But you know, the shots are similar, but they're done differently.
The world #21 missed just 4 greens in regulation. His playing partner Tommy Fleetwood so impressed that he tweeted this after the round. Although you could argue he's just stating the obvious. The truth is, Woods looked comfortable and confident, never more so than with his second shot on the 18th.
Wow, this is just blistered at the center of the green. Very pretty golf shot.
It set up his eagle, which topped off 4 birdies in his round of 5 under par 65. Has he saved his best for the very last event of the season? 3 rounds to go.
You're with MTV's Trukai Sports. Don't go away. We have more coming up after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. PNG Basketball has been recognised for their efforts in developing the code in the country. They have been invited by FIBA and the International Basketball Federation to attend a basketball convention in Australia, which will be held over the weekend.
PNG Basketball President Nick Darroa and PNG Basketball Executive Officer Stephen Damien will be attending the convention in Melbourne, Australia. President Nick Darroa will be given the opportunity to speak at the convention about how the sport has grown in the country over the past few years.
About how we've been running our Mums Are Hero programs, our Twilight programs, which is similar to the Midnight Basketball in Australia and US. So I think PNG is coming of age in basketball, and I'm confident and very delighted that we are now being recognized in the Pacific region.
There are always difficulties faced in the association while carrying out clinics and competitions. The association has been working hard to overcome these issues, which now sees the different basketball programs being carried out in various parts of the country.
We've also taken the programs out to Lae, Kavieng, Mount Hagen, Mendi, so hopefully we're doing enough.
Darroa thanked the PNG Basketball Board and volunteers who have been the driving force towards developing and expanding the participation of basketball throughout PNG. A good example of positive change and expansion of the code would be the increased participation and interest shown at the National All-Stars Basketball Championships that is currently underway.
I'd like to thank the Basketball Board here in PNG, the followers, the stakeholders, the volunteers. I'd like to make mention of them. They've done a great, fantastic job helping out with all the running of our clinics.
Elijah Lavette, National MPV Sports.
Still in basketball, Team New Ireland has had a good start to the PNG National All-Stars Basketball Championships. So far, they've had 2 wins and a loss. They play Alatau later tonight with the hopes of securing another win.
KVN secured their second win today, beating Daru 56 points to 47. Coach Lee Kotoveke says, though they've had a slow start to the competition, they are happy with their performance over the past 2 days, having 2 wins and a loss.
This year we are trying our best to build a good team for Liam also to play and other boys. But so far so good.
Though some of their players were not able to travel to Port Moresby due to financial issues, Kotoveke is satisfied with the current team.
We financially couldn't bring the whole team over. You know, KVN is very far. But we managed to build a team, and we thought of Liam coming over to join the team. So we already have a team and we're already into the game.
They first entered the tournament last year but failed to make the finals. This year they are confident they can make it past pool play into the finals.
Last year was the first time they joined, and as a province, last year was something we've never done before. We've never reached the scores that were so high. We've never beaten Ley. So, you know, we had a lot of experience last year and a lot of provincial histories that were written. And this year, again, we hope to do something. We have a lot to beat, and then the boys should be in the finals and see how we go with Moresby.
The team is bolstered by Liam Wright, a PNG international basketballer currently playing in Melbourne, Australia, and who represented PNG at the 2015 Pacific Games.
It's been good. I mean, we won some games, but we struggled in trying to build a completely different team to play together with Liam. And last year we had Lloyd also on the team, so it gave us a lot of chances on the baseline and to catch the ball.
Team KVN has 2 matches left before the finals playoff on Saturday. Elijah Levet, National MPV Sports.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports for tonight. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, in the southern region a shower or 2 in Port Moresby, Daru and Kerma, brief showers in Alatau and Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, a shower or 2 in Ley, Medang, Wewak and Vanimo, rain showers in Wau. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine right across the region in Lorengau, KVN, Kokopo-Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine all across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Now to gale warning, very strong southeast winds of 34 to 48 knots are expected to develop within the next 3 to 6 hours, causing very rough seas and high waves. And strong wind warning, strong southeast winds of 25 to 34 knots with stronger gusts reaching 48 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small crafts and boats are advised to take necessary precautions before and after going out to sea. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island and Kerma to Yule Island and Hood Point to Samari Island, seas of 3 to 3.5 meters. Waters of Eastern Highlands, Eastern and Western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to CIC Islands to Long Island and with waters of West New Britain, including waters of Samari Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia and Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo, northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters, and waters of New Ireland to East New Britain to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Looking at the ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea, seas very rough with southeast winds at 34 to 48 knots. Solomon Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with south to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is this Friday, the 21st of September 2018. On behalf of the news team, have a safe weekend. Good night.